There is a popular Yakan proverb that goes something like this. Aa magdimbuwa luma, gai migki talui. There are two siblings who do not see each other. Practice relentless curiosity and take yourself out of the equation. If you are there to learn something, ultimately you are looking for something that will benefit you in the long run. However, if you're curious, you are open to anything that may come your way. The more curious we are of one another, the less we will fear the unknown. In our previous video, we spent some time with the Sama Bangingi in Marang-Marang off the coast of Isabela City, Basilan, and we had an amazing seafood lunch in Pahali Beach.
There are so many beautiful places in the Philippines, and it comes down to access, location obviously, but there's still so much for us to explore. Now this is, yes, probably one of the most popular areas in Basilan, but it's a Saturday and it's absolutely empty, which for me is great because I get to enjoy it for all myself, but it would be great to see people come here and enjoy it more so that they can really feel like, I don't know, I can't really put my finger on it. I feel, maybe it's because I just recently came from the Cordilleras and then we came down all the way down south here to Basilan. It feels worlds apart, not only in terms of distance, but also in terms of culture. And I feel like people in those areas are not necessarily communicating. Even based in Manila, you're not really confronted, or you can't really appreciate the culture that they have here. So I don't know what can fix that, but I'd love to see more cultural exchanges, especially between places in Mindanao and in Luzon. And in the Visayas and every other kind of region in the Philippines. It would just be really cool to see. I feel like there would be more cohesion. People would probably understand each other better, and I feel like maybe people would take more pride in their country and what we need to do to protect it. I think there's still a little bit of a stigma. I hate to say it, but it's kind of the truth. When we came to Basilan, everyone was telling us, be careful or watch out, but nothing kind of crazy violent has happened here in a long time, but that imagery is still very vivid in people's mind. I mean, they were telling me the last time anything big like that happened here, especially here in this beach, was maybe 30 to 40 years ago. So it was a long time ago. Things have changed, and I think Basilan being so close to Zamboanga is safe as anywhere else in the country or anywhere else in the world. You know, it depends where you are, what's happening, and sometimes it's just chance, right? So, yeah, I wish people kind of just gave it more of a chance. Just some very emo thoughts on a very emo, beautiful day. I mean, look at this place. It doesn't get better than this.
Isabela City is by no means a big place. It's still very much in development. A few hotels are popping up here and there, mostly to cater to businesses that operate here, and there are a couple of restaurants as well. But as we all know, the heart of a place is its people. So we headed down to the boulevard where everyone comes down at night for a quick bite. Not far from it, we were taken to a small eatery where they were generous enough to show us how they make one of my favorite snacks, janay. Janay is a rice dish similar to pastil, but more elaborate in my opinion. The rice is mixed with pamapa and siunog ng nyog, the staple burnt coconut powders and spiced coconut powder, coconut milk, aromatics, and sometimes chicken or beef, before being steamed in a banana leaf. Onion, ginger, garlic, chilies, and turmeric are sweated out in a pan and mixed in with the rice. The coconut milk is then added with some seasoning and the burned coconut until the rice is cooked to about 80% doneness. It is then wrapped in banana leaves and steamed or shallow boiled until fully cooked.
I love this. So much spice, so much chili, so much flavor.
The next day, we woke up early to head to another island off the coast of Isabela, Lampinigan Island, a beautiful raw coast with a small barangay with a long white beach flank both sides of the island. It was a Sunday, and most people come here to relax and eat by the beach, and a few people from their local women's association were waiting for us to show us some of their local delicacies. Whoa. But while setting up, we also found a local boat builder who wanted to show us some of the projects he was working on.
Ako si Hanapi Salman, naggawa ng mga pambot. Ito ang hanap buhay ko, para sa pambot lang. Alam mo na yung mga fishermen, yung walang pangaralan, ganitong ginagawa. Kahit hindi mga 10 years, mga 20 years na sigurado. Kasi dito, wala naman dito ng yung mga gawa ng mga hanap buhay namin. Ito lang na hanap buhay na realize ko. Wala na akong sa dagat, hindi na ako nakakakuhan. Kung mayroong mga dito na naggawa ng mga pamot, mga walang nasisira, na kanya ako ang gumagawa sa kanila. Nagre-repair. Nahirapan sila, nahirapan. Kasi hindi naman kami gumagawa ng dati na nahirapan kami gumagawa. Imagination na lang yung kinuha namin. Anong paggawa, ganito, ganito. Yung dati, yung pambot ginagawa ko hindi na perfect. Kung mga dalawa, hindi pa. Kung mga 5 pambot na okay na perfect na siya.
Tulo.
No, nakatulo ito siya mga butas-butas, hindi pwede. Ito lang ilagay namin. Epoxy liner. See? Para sigurado. Walang tulo sa baba. Yan ang ipikit namin sa kuhan.
Pumasok yung tubig.
Hindi pumasok. Hindi mahalaga dito sila kung walang kapambot. Mahirapan ka talaga dito sa isla. Kapag mayroon ka pambot na kahit kunti-kunti lang, mayroon pa ka mahanap buhay. Kapag wala,
Gastos.
ang gasto. Pwede mong sagwan na ayaw nila. Kasi mabigat naman yung magsagwan. Hindi tulad ng ganito, may makina. Kahit ka saan pumunta, aabutan mo kung hindi na malayo. Ng mga anak ko. Wala sir. Hindi ko sila hindi ko tinuruan ng mga pambot. Tinuruan ko sila kasi mahirap talaga, sir. Maganda sila, nag-aaral sila. Dami na tingnan natin, yung mga fishermen. Kaya nagawa namin ganito.
On the other side of the island, we were ready to eat and we started with some snacks.
Kalahating third class harina, 1/2 ng butter. Then, i-mix-mix lang po. And then, 1/2 ng oil, 1/2 cup, 1/2 cup din ng water. Na-mix na po to, ang And then, ilalagay ko. Kahit na ano po, depende na po sa ano nyo. Pag creative po, kahit na ano, may mga flower po kami ginagawa. Depende po. Iba't ibang design naman po yung ano, pag gusto. May mga cutter naman po dito. Ano, yung ready-made na cutter.
Wherever we go, food seems to follow. We are in the beautiful Lampinigan Island. It's a Sunday, so there's a lot of people around, and people do come here to kind of chill on weekends, obviously. The water is beautiful, the sand is absolutely pristine. It's definitely kind of like a rawer beach compared to the Pahali beach that we went to yesterday. I actually like this kind of setting, this kind of like long stretch of white sand with some rugged rocks and lots of kind of fresh water being brought in by the waves. It just sounds and looks beautiful. And the local community here wanted to showcase all their delicacies, and so they've prepared this incredible massive spread. Every place that we've been to so far has been so extremely generous in terms of sharing their culture and sharing their food, and there's a real sense of pride with each dish that they prepare, which I'm all for. I think it's absolutely fantastic. With a spread of things I can't name once more. We will get them right. I will be sitting down with everyone after and taking notes in terms of how these dishes are made. There's some that are very recognizable. So you have things like Maha Blanca and Suman, which obviously we know very well up north. And we also have some otap, for example, which you can find absolutely everywhere. But there's also some really unique dishes here. So we're gonna start with this one. I believe it's, so we have dinglo, which is basically grated nipa palm ubod, and it's basically left by itself to kind of form as if it were kind of cornstarch, and then fried. That's good. It's like I feel like I've had something similar in Indonesia. Obviously, you got the beautiful oil, deep fried kind of crust going on, but the center is really soft and spongy. Almost like there'd be gelatin or cornstarch in there, but none. It's actually just left by itself until it starts kind of coagulating, getting firmer and firmer over multiple days, apparently. Very nice. This we've tried before. Patulakan. Patulakan. Made of coconut. Similar to suman in terms of flavor, texture, very different. Coconut really helps. More of like a paste in your mouth, which is quite nice. And I mean, just by smelling this, the flavor from the leaf is really prevalent, which I really appreciate. Bianban, so like suman but with cassava, as you can tell, much harder to stretch out. Very similar to the cassava puto that we had the other day. There. Okay. Then the sourness of the cassava comes through. Not sweet at all, which I really appreciate. And then this one here. So nice. It's like fried dough. Again, I love the restraint. It's not too sweet, not too overpowering. I'm looking at the table right next to me, and there's a whole spread of seafood.
While not caught and served commercially, fishermen sometimes catch stingrays, and they showed us how they prepare it locally. Just like many dishes here, a heavy use of aromatics, turmeric, and lemongrass make this so different from dishes you'll find elsewhere in the archipelago.
Turmeric or dulaw.
bahagi or kihampaw.
So I'm with Claude, who's been helping us, and we've been kind of emailing back and forth and on Messenger rather, trying to prepare for this trip, and he's really been pivotal in organizing everything that we've been doing so far around Basilan and Isabela specifically. So you work with the local tourism office?
So yes, I'm the city tourism officer, and together of course with my team here, we're very happy to have you here, Erwan, in Isabela de Basilan.
Yes, thanks for that. And what we're having today, so we're in Lamitan Island, and you're mentioning it's the first time they kind of prepare
This
kind of like
things,
this kind of
yes.
feast for visitors coming in.
Yes.
Is that something that you're actively trying to develop with them?
Yes, definitely. Because we want the tourism to be felt by the locals, because it's them, it's their attraction. So we want to empower the local community to really showcase what they have and the culture, definitely. And we really want to tell stories about like the food. You know that. I'm sure there's a lot of stories about how to prepare this and that, and we want all these things to change relatively the image of Basilan and what we are. So I think these are the rightful stories that people should know about us.
Correct. Like
So,
I feel people in general tend to go to more developed tourism locations, so
yes,
they
yes.
don't necessarily see how things start or
Yes,
begin.
yes.
And you don't just arrive in a place and expect people to be able to cook for you, right? If there's no restaurants or if they're not set up with cafes and stuff like that.
Yes.
But it just shows the eagerness of how people really want to share their
Yes.
culture and kind of showcase to the Philippines, like, we're not just what you heard in the news decades
Exactly.
ago.
Yes.
You know, we have our food, we have our culture, and this is things that should be in the spotlight.
Correct. Well said, everyone.
So we have more food.
Yeah, more food.
Stingray.
The
So this is
stingray.
the one they were making. I'm gonna use my hand. So I love that they set up for us right on the beach to show us how to cook all of this. Let's try this. Very tender. I asked her if there were any tinik, but she said
yeah.
they're very, very soft. And it's true. It's extremely soft. Well, before we're gonna eat all of this, but yeah, very important. If you guys do decide to come to Isabela, make sure you contact the local tourism office.
Yes, please.
It just helps in terms of mapping.
Yeah, main office, we have an office at the Boulevard, the James Walter Strong Boulevard, or you can look for us on Facebook. We have our Facebook page at Isabela City Tourism. So
Awesome.
everything is there.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's eat, guys. Let's eat.
Okay,
You guys are hungry?
thank you so much. Eat.
Found myself the perfect spot for lunch. I'm gonna try the turmeric rice with the shells. Lambi. Kinilaw. Very nice. When people go to places like Palawan or Siargao, you have this expectation of what a boodle fight's gonna be. Lots of rice, lots of grilled fish. Sometimes that fish is actually fish from the same region. Sometimes it isn't, because fishing is becoming more and more difficult. But in places like this, it's really great to see that community being really active of wanting to showcase everything that they have. And I was telling Cloud a while ago, I was like, this is kind of like their version of I won't say boodle fight, but their version of what community feasting could look like. And when you come to places where tourism hasn't really begun yet, hasn't really started, it's really important to put in place those things in the beginning in terms of how do you want your guests to experience your culture and your location, how should it be served, and making sure that we're not using too much plastic while serving people, and all these little things. If you can put them in place in the beginning, just helps with more sustainable style tourism moving forward. And I think the people here in Basilan and Isabela are doing the right work in terms of making sure they're talking to all stakeholders to really make sure that the guests that do come here have an amazing experience, get to really meet and talk to locals, and yeah, just have a very different view of what the Philippines has to offer.
Basilan is a particular province where the town of Isabela City is under the Zamboanga Peninsula region, yet still on Basilan Island. The capital of the Basilan region, however, is Lamitan City. This area opens you up to explore the rest of the island where they have amazing treks, waterfalls, and mountains. While we didn't have much time to tour the whole of Basilan, we heard that the whole coast is really worth exploring. And if adventure travel is something that you have time for, you should take the time to visit the other parts of the region. Lamitan City has long been considered the home base of the Yakan, the original settlers of the island. So we headed to their market to taste some of their specialties. Watching these ladies make panyam and lukot-lukot was strangely calming. A dance of fire, oil, dough, and a delicate touch, like watching a rehearsed performance, experience taking the lead. Everyone was quiet, focused at the task at hand, creating beautiful shapes and timeless flavors. These are staples for dulangs or feasting platters, and it's great to see the creativity when it comes to customizing tools that are used to make these delicacies.
Try the crescent moon. What was the name of this again?
Sali bulan.
Sari bulang. Okay. I've tried panyam before, but I've never had it fresh.
Okay.
Is it better when it's fresh? Kung
Yes, sir.
freshly cooked,
Yes.
sarap. Mas masarap.
Oh.
So the reason they rest it is really so you get that yung airiness.
Oh.
Tapos yung tao that makes this dapat serious, no? Bakit po?
Siya, para maganda ang kainin, sir.
Because you'll see when they're making panyam, they're very serious and very quiet. It's a requirement for the dish. So they say if you're laughing or if you're making noise, correct, it won't look as pretty, it won't rise as much. So it's kind of like when you're making a French souffle. If you make too much noise in the kitchen, it's said to kind of go down in terms of airiness. This is very good. Sobrang sarap. Salamat. And then yung fresh ja was...
Dito, sir.
Okay. I want to try it fresh because I've never tried it fresh before. This is the freshly cooked jaw. So the one I've had before, drip dried, this looks really, I mean, it's still kind of warm in the hand, right?
Eh?
I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but really well made. And you think those patterns are random, but they're not. She's moving it in a specific way, back and forth, different designs, depending on how it's going to be folded. So it's actually very intricate. I actually really want to try to make one of these in the studio and see if we can actually do it. Sarap. Wow.
Crunchy pa, sir.
Oh, super crunchy. This is honestly probably the best one I've had. But this panyam is out of its world. Crunchy sides, really soft, airy interior. Not cloyingly sweet. But lots of textures to play with, which is really great. So before, when you would eat ja or panyam, it was considered kind of like a celebratory event. So it wouldn't be too easy to get. But the previous mayor here, I believe, in Lamitan City, decided that it's something that all Basileños should be able to have all the time. And so they kind of set up this strip where all these different stalls make both of these delicacies so people can have it at any time they want. And yeah, I think it's a great thing because it kind of just showcases it. They're all in one row here, so it really looks pretty and authentic. And it's delicious.
In another part of the market, we heard of someone making something special with cassava.
Tapos namin ginaganito, sir, nililigid namin. Parang ganito, sir. Ganito po, sir. Isa. By step yan, sir. Dalawa. Tapos ilikid na papunta kanon, sir. Nahinay lang yan, sir. Tapos namin na ginaganyan, sir, nilalagay namin ng koko. Yan. Tapos pinuputol namin ng slice. 1, 2. Okay. Done.
I love about coming to the market, you always see kind of contraptions that you get extremely inspired by and kind of want to make at home. And their teapot coconut steamer there with the holes in the bottom looks absolutely ingenious to me to cook the cassava. So the cassava is literally just grated. I asked why it has kind of like a flavor sour profile, which we've had before in different renditions of this dish, and it's just because naturally here the cassava does have a little bit of sourness to it. I wonder if maybe just by making it sit a little bit also does that sourness kind of develop. Could be possible. Here, this is the first time I see this version of the dish, kind of with muscovado sugar. When I first saw it, I thought it was sprinkled on top, but I was wrong. It's actually really mixed in with the cassava already, which is really cool. And I was told that this particular dish here, I mean, we've tried it before, right? It's really kind of tough and not extremely stretchy, so it's tough to kind of break. And I was told that some of the rebel fighters were actually using this as a belt, so that they didn't need to cook when they were out in the mountains, because if they cooked, they would be seen because of the fire and the smoke. So they would keep this around their trousers as a belt and then bring just some seasoning, and that would be the sustenance because it's very kind of heavy. So let's try first the special one. I mean, that's really, really heavy. That will last you a long, long time. I like that it was just called special and regular, to the addition of the coconut and the muscovado. And the muscovado does really give it a completely different flavor from a brown sugar, for example. Next here, they were telling me about this powder, which is incredibly flavorful. So and I'm definitely gonna be making this at home or trying to make it. It's dried out and toasted coconut, not burnt, toasted only. And then that is added with you'll see some dried chilies in there, some cooked chilies. You have some cooked down ginger, garlic, onions, sometimes some dried fish to give it that really umami flavor, or not, some MSG as well. And that's used as kind of like a seasoning for tons of dishes that they're actually presenting. As a dried seasoning, it is gorgeous. So I'm gonna try it kind of like those rebel fighters. I'm gonna put a bit of this on top of my dish, try it together. So it's spicy, gingery, garlicky. I mean, that on anything would be absolutely amazing. It's almost kind of like a curry spice powder. So this is definitely closer to what you would see in Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of toppings and spices, but it is very Filipino. So the food here today is not really easy to kind of determine whether it's tausug or yakan. Everything's kind of mixed nowadays. There's a lot of cross-culture happening. But I'm definitely gonna bring this back with me in Manila, try to figure out how to remake it, and start using it absolutely everywhere. Sarap po. Where's paper? It's good, man.
We made our way to Bulingan Falls, a quick drive away from the market, just to explore a little more of the natural wonders of the island.
This is just an example of how lush the vegetation is here in Basilan. If you look at it in the map and you pull out, you'll see that it's actually a lot of green. Yes, there are some busy cities. We went to Isabela City, Lamitan City, barely scratched the surface, mostly focusing on the northeast, north, and a little bit of the northwest, places that are directly accessible from Zamboanga City. Do know that once you're out of Isabela City, you go into BARM territory, which means that if you do want to visit, you know, the south or the west of Basilan, or even the east of Basilan, and the other islands that might be next to those areas, it's really important that you do contact the local LGUs of all the towns and barangays that you want to stop in, just so that they know where you are and what you're doing. I would highly recommend doing that, since it is still fairly unexplored when it comes to tourism, so it's really important to keep these things in check. That being said, you can drive the whole island in about 3 hours, and there are lots of other waterfalls and treks and things that you can do. Remember that the Yakan people, who are predominantly the people from Basilan, are considered kind of like they're considered the peace weavers, but also the mountain people. So you can imagine how beautiful the mountainscapes are here, and people still live up in those highland areas. And I would love to be able to spend more time here and discover those things, but unfortunately we're short on time. We're always short on time when we do these kinds of trips, but I hope that it actually shows you a glimpse of the possibility of what Basilan is and how beautiful it is, and how the people are so giving and generous, and how it's just such a great place to want to come visit. It's still fairly underdeveloped in terms of the hotels and places to stay. But if you do your research, if you contact the local LGUs and just local people in general, you should be able to find your way and have an amazing stay. For now, just gonna have some coffee, some coconuts, enjoy the sound of the rushing water, and just relax a little bit. This is our before last day. We're leaving tomorrow, unfortunately. And I've been taking notes all throughout this kind of trip, because there's just so much to remember. It's a little bit overwhelming in terms of the amount of information that you have to take in and remember to do this place justice, because at the end of the day, we come to these places to ideally present them in the most honest and in a way that kind of honors the locations that we're going to. So hopefully these videos kind of showed you that.